Hey, everybody, welcome to A Moment in Time, a closer look at local history with your host. Just going to hate that I said that, Jacqueline Smith.
Your host is Ben Barber. I'm your guest.
You are the host of the show. I am the guest every week who is meant to derail everything. How was your day?
It was extremely mediocre. Thanks for asking. I watched this food for thought episode with this lame producer, Ben Barber.
That's me.
Oh yeah, and he has a big head and wrote a bio that was
I was
extremely unrealistic.
I was asked to write a bio.
So you admit it was you?
Yes. So anyway, you are a historian, and that is what this show is about. And we asked people what they wanted you to talk about as far as local history goes, Westerly, Rhode Island, Eastern Connecticut, anything that. What are the parameters for this show, Jackie?
Really, anything Southern New England. I'm bummed I haven't gotten any Connecticut questions yet.
Well, you defected from Connecticut a long time ago, so it is what it is.
Yeah, so I got this question.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not a history question, but I will be happy to answer it. So as we mentioned last week, as a follow-up, Ben screen shared his journal on Zoom, a work meeting, and someone wants to know what was in it. So unfortunately, I didn't notice at all, and he was the one who told me about it. But I had him thinking for months that I knew what was in it. So thanks for blowing up my spot. Good question, though. Thank you.
Oh, man. All right. Well, the next question. Nope, that's not the right one. So the next question that we're going to ask about is this has been a hot topic for local history this week. A lot of people have been asking questions about this. I know that you got a phone call from a local newspaper that asked you some questions about this. So somebody asked, I'd love to know more about the Harkness /Holiday House that is featured in the new Taylor Swift song. So the song, The Last Great American Dynasty, is that the name of the song? Is all about Taylor Swift's house. She wrote the song about her house. What do you know about that? What can you tell us about that?
So everyone's
there it is.
Interested in it for different reasons. Architecture, the addition of the dance studio. Mrs. Harkness wanted to run a dance studio, a ballet. So she added that on. She added 8 kitchens. So does that make it 9? I don't know. But that's some good entertaining that she did. It was originally built for Mrs. George Grant Snowden, who was the wife of a Philadelphia oil company executive, until being purchased. And it was originally built in 1931, and it survived the hurricane of 38, and then got the hurricane of Mrs. Harkness and Mr. Hale. Some discrepancies in the song, as you know, she didn't fill her pool completely with champagne, but she did clean it with champagne. Like, why not? I would do the same thing. She didn't
I just want to have a pool. If I just could have a pool, I don't care what I clean it with. I'll clean it with champagne.
And I'll just send you a picture of a pool. It really doesn't matter if you have a pool or not. It's just for your Zoom background.
Okay.
So
I have a pool that I can use as a Zoom background. Yes. It's my neighbors, though. Continue.
So she also did not dye a dog green, but she did dye a cat green. So it's just as bad. And I called one of my friends in Watch Hill, who's been around that area for a long time, and she was telling me some like gossipy stories, and she sounds very spectacular. The parties were amazing. The guests were A-list. The kitchen, 8 kitchens to clean after the party left. I don't even want one kitchen to clean.
No,
Like,
me either.
I'm just
I
all
assume
about
she's not clean. I assume Rebecca Harkness was. Her name is Rebecca, right?
Mm-hmm.
I assume Rebecca Harkness wasn't cleaning all 8 kitchens herself.
I feel
Or
like if I
any
had
of
eight
them.
kitchens, I'd end up cleaning all of them. So
You're not the heiress to an oil. Not the heiress, but the widow of an
the
oil
widow,
tycoon.
yeah.
Yeah.
And why not, Ben? Can you make that happen for me?
I will try. I will try.
Okay. So, and I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say. I mean, he wasn't working in the oil industry. He was a stockbroker in New York City, and he'd come back home every day on the Westerly train on the 9:30. And when he'd walk in the door, his parrot would ask him how the stock market was, which is adorable. So they seem like a lovely couple. They are dead, so we can't hang out with them. So we'll have to find new friends. Okay, what's next? What? You should just find any friends in the first place.
Me? I have 2, and they're lovely. So, okay. Well, that was great. And yeah, I mean, that song, how do you feel about, so how many songs are there that you know of about Westerly? Well, this one specifically is about history in Westerly, which is very interesting because it's the thing that you love the most in the world, is history, and for some reason, this town. So that's sort of a weird cross section, but Westerly has definitely made it to several songs, which is cool.
Okay, well, you can fill me in later.
It's a pretty historic town. I'm just saying.
Well, it is. It's without Westerly, a lot of the history would never happen, and I mean, it would be very different. We have someone from Westerly choosing our first president to be the commander general of the
Continental Army.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Is it called?
Yeah, we have inventions that improved the same steam train that's mentioned in the Taylor Swift song, that enabled people to go work in New York City. Like, it's kind of endless. We have one of the best locks ever made is here in like Pawcatuck. We have the first telephone system that was direct. I mean, without these inventions, the world would be a very, very different place. And of course, the granite industry, because we need scandal right now. So it's cool that we helped cause that.
So those are 2 things we're talking about next week, because obviously you need a little time to prepare for all of these shows. Number 1, I definitely want to talk about the granite industry a little bit, in regards to statues, because that seems fun and dangerous right now.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2 is I really want to talk about George Washington being chosen as the commander of the army.
Not without arguing,
yeah,
and debating.
Yeah, so that's amazing, and I love that Westerly has a connection to like
everything.
This quintessential piece of American history that is just taken for granted. So we definitely want to get into that. Our next question, could you talk about Oliver Hazard Perry and his boats? And this question came from a very senile old man in a nursing home who happens to be my father. And for some reason, this is what he wanted to ask. So Oliver Hazard Perry and his boats, can you tell us a little bit about them?
I know as much about boats as I do trees, but it wasn't hard to research Oliver Hazard Perry, since he is, of course, our local Westerly hero, besides Ben Barber.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
I also think you are a little bit more familiar with boats than you are with trees. So here is Oliver Hazard Perry.
So this story has to start on the Pawcatuck River. So we had a lot of people who were really fascinated with building ships. And eventually, since we had whale come down here and seal, we started building whale ships. That's something interesting to talk about in the future. And then steamships. And but we also have like a lot of defected Quakers in Rhode Island who ended up being amazing strategists. And one of them is Captain Raymond Perry, who was his father, and they lived in Westerly on the lower part of Main Street. And he started building boats, but he specialized in military boats because he was very disappointed in the quality of military boats, specifically gunboats. So he had no interest in commanding one of those. So he built the Nathaniel Green, who of course is another Rhode Island hero.
Nathaniel Green is from Rhode Island?
Yeah, I used to work in his house.
I didn't know this.
It's very haunted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Proceed.
Okay. So he did that, and our young Perry, well, he was young at the time. He's now dead. Oliver Hazard Perry was very... It's not even my best joke today. He wanted to work on it, and he worked his way up to midshipman. And then he wanted his own boat for some war. So he had Nathan Potter, who of course worked on the Pawcatuck, build some ships for him. And one of which, by the time it was commissioned, was going to get the name Lawrence, which is the one that he took to glory at the Battle of Lake Erie. So that's named after James Lawrence, who is famous for "Don't Give Up the Ship." How many songs have that in it? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I didn't study music or anything really, except for anthropology. So,
I'm sorry. You studied anthropology?
Yeah, it's
This has never come up. So let's talk more about OHP.
Okay, so Oliver Hazard Perry took the Lawrence, one of the ships that Nathan Potter built, up to Lake Erie, and was doing excellent, but they got so damaged that the British thought he was going to give in and said, "Hey, lower your flag," which literally says, "Don't give up the ship." So he was like, "Yeah, no, that's not going to happen." But he can't keep being on it. So when ships are too damaged to work, people come over with a smaller boat to transport them to another one. So he got transported to Niagara, which is another ship, and then he took that to glory. And then they were like, "Hey, British, I think we won, so accept your defeat." But they were like, I don't know. So he reconquered his ship, Lawrence. It's like an old boyfriend, and had them give up on his boat, named for the guy who said, "Don't give up the ship." Why not? He's
Absolutely.
from Westerly. Of course, if he's going to do something, it's going to be epic and entertaining and a little bit of a jab. So,
yeah, I agree.
The only other boat that I can talk about is the Revenge, which was one of the worst days of his life. So back before the war, it's 1809. He was part of the patrol off of Watch Hill, and he struck some rocks. So Perry was the head of that ship. He saved the crew, but lost, tons of equipment. And there was an internal investigation done, and it was like a scandal. And they didn't have anyone really to blame besides the pilot, which was Perry. So they forced him to resign from the Revenge, and he was forced to go on a leave. But in that time, he got married and had a baby who died. Okay.
The amount of "and then they died" comments in this one show is so sad.
No, but the baby did die.
Okay.
I mean, as a baby, not. Yes, it's terrible.
Yes.
But when you're doing history, you gotta put your armor on, because like the whole story, everything.
That's true.
Except for what's in Ben's journal.
No one knows. And I deleted it immediately during that meeting, so no one will ever know. All right. Our next question is one that is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts for whatever reason. This guy, who needs no introduction, what did Benjamin Franklin do while in Westerly?
You couldn't have found a more flattering picture of him?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
That's fine. So much because one of his best friends of all time, and also he seemed to just really love the New England crew, was Joshua Babcock, the person who built Westerly's Babcock Smith House. And so he would visit since its inception. It was built in 1734, and he would do numerous things while he was there. One of his favorite things to do with his friend Joshua was to go fishing. Both men were very accomplished. One's just, a lot more famous.
Which is, of course, Joshua Babcock.
I think the best things that he did here were absolutely.
Is that a more flattering? Is that a more flattering picture than Franklin?
Way more flattering. It should be noted that some of the original lightning rods on Joshua Babcock's house were from Benjamin Franklin. Obviously, they more were added in time and updated as technology changed, but that was one of the biggest contributions for homeowners insurance and safety. So I also want to mention that he cleared the post office, the first post office in Westerly to open in 1776. Before that, you had to go to Providence or New London to get your mail. And just like everything in Westerly, they're not going to put up with it. They're going to make their own. So we finally got a post office, which we shared with Pawcatuck obviously for 200 years. We shared a post office. But I think one of the most notable things is that, having the conversation about how he was questioning slavery and he would have that with his friend after he visited a school for girls in Africa. And he was like, you know what? Those women were very smart. And so maybe I'm going to question this. And those progressive thoughts were things that sparked, many things in Westerly, including our own anti-slavery movement and leading to a visit from Frederick Douglass twice in Westerly, Dixon Square, where they are protesting now. So I think it's magical in that connection. But
that is really cool.
I don't have any legit evidence that he brought women here. He probably to Westerly, he probably did. But
Yeah. Enough about what did Benjamin Franklin do. Let's talk about who did Benjamin Franklin do, Westerly. Okay, because he was quite a philanderer.
Oh yeah, very famous.
As history will tell us. So what do you know about that?
But okay, so there's no like actual connection here, and I will not take the chastity away from Katherine Ray, who would eventually be Katherine Ray Green from Block Island. But she was given a ride from Benjamin Franklin from Boston through by way of Providence down to Westerly to get on a boat to go back to Block Island. So
She did not own a car herself.
No, but that would make her more desirable. So anyway, on her way down. Don't anyway.
Cheers.
Yeah. So they took this journey together, and they obviously struck up an amazing, deep friendship, of which lasted until the end of Benjamin Franklin's life. This is the first letter that Ben Franklin sent to Katherine Ray, and I'm going to read some excerpts because he's
I'm so excited about this.
He sounds amazing. It gives me great pleasure to hear that you got home safely and well that day, because as she had to make it back to Block Island, and he was very stressed that she wasn't going to make it on her little rickety boat. I thought too much was hazard when I saw you pull off to sea, that very little skiff tossed by every wave, but the call was strong and just. A sick parent, I stood on the shore and looked after you till I could no longer distinguish you, even with my glass, then returned to your sisters, praying for your safe passage. And then he says some stuff. I left New England slowly with great reluctance, short day journeys and loitering visits on the road. I almost forgot I had a home till I was more than halfway towards it, till I one by one parted with all my New England friends and got to the western borders of Connecticut. Persons subject to hypothermia, I think, complain of the north end wind as increasing their malady. But since you promised to send me kisses in that wind, and I find you as good as your word, till me the gayest wind that blows and gives me the best spirits, I write this during a nor'easter snowstorm, the greatest we've ever had this winter. Your favors come mixed with the snowy fleece, which are pure as your virgin innocence, white as your lovely bosom, and as cold. Like, dude, where are these people? Do you have too much time on your hands? So I think
I love that you were like, when we did this show back in April, you were like, when we do the show again, we should pre-record it so you can like mix in bits. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. I'll mix in bits that we can come up with later, and then I'll put them in the editing. And now I'm like, I can just do it right now, like live. This was so adorable. That was. Although, why did he say that she was cold?
I don't know. Maybe she was like, oh no, Ben Franklin, I'm,
What?
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I'm a lady, Ben Franklin. I'm a lady.
And Ben Franklin was like, send me kisses in the wind.
Yeah.
That was a nice letter, though.
It is.
Yeah.
So
all right. Ben Franklin seems like a hell of a talker.
Yeah, he was. So she wrote to him all the time too. Mm-hmm. I with pleasure look back upon those pleasant days I used to see you in Boston and the agreeable journey to Westerly, which you have sometimes mentioned. And then they wrap up this platonic love story with this is the last line that Katherine wrote to him. and this would be the last letter that she would ever send to him. Here you have lovely grandchildren and take pleasure in them. So have we. They seem as near as our own children. May they continue lovely through life, if is the wish of your most affectionate and obliged friend, Katie Green. So now they're like on nickname terms. You can still call me Jackal in bed. And then the last line of the last letter he wrote before he died to Katie was, among the felicities of my life, I reckon your friendship, which I shall remember with pleasure as long as that life lasts, being ever, my dear friend, yours most affectionately.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So that's the kinds of stuff that he did while he was in Westerly.
Do you think that 300 years from now, their historians are going to find a way to read our text messages?
Absolutely. You know,
And-
they're all being stored
And
on
that's how they'll be able to tell like who in history had affairs with who, like, because Apple will just be like, all right, it's been 100 years, you know, here's what the leaders of the world actually did.
Yeah, and like who would even care, because they'd all be dead.
That's true.
Don't give up the ship,
very
Ben.
interesting. I will not give up the ship ever. You're right. Now I do know that I've heard that saying a lot. All right, our last question today is not really a history question, but it's interesting nonetheless. And somebody asked it, so I'm going to ask you: what happened with the mysterious metal object that washed up on East Beach?
So hopefully
when was this?
Hopefully in 100 years we'll have the text messages. Oh, 2017. I almost said 1917 or 1717. I was.
Hopefully, wait, hold on, go back. Hopefully, in 100 years we'll have what text messages?
Text messages to find out what this is.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what
absolutely.
is this? Because it looks very odd.
Right. And it was immediately determined, I guess we're just branching out on this, that it's nothing that anyone has ever seen. And here are the options. Russian, part of a Russian spy vehicle. And that is the most logical because, as you know, Long Island, off of the coast of Long Island, we have seen Russian spy submarines. So that feels very likely. I mean, it's not like we have their plans.
Listen,
the other one is
Russia. If you're listening, please let us know what this thing is. Continue.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then the other one is like that it came from a spaceship. And in 2017, that seemed like conspiracy. But now that they released declassified alien information and have an out of this world thing that just broke in the New York Times this week, I'm going to say it's very now likely that it's from an alien spaceship. And then, of course, there's like really like anti-conspiracy people and are like, it's probably just something that the Weather Service uses to monitor waves. And I was like, hey, Weather Service, how come you didn't chime in here? So I'm gonna take that one out. So yeah, it's something probably from some sort of vehicle that fell off.
I mean, wouldn't you just assume that it's like somebody tried to make like a homemade fishing net that was bad? I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
As an historian, the fact that I'm weighing in on something that I know nothing about and spreading it around as fact is a very not intelligent thing to do, but I couldn't help it. And
That's
plus,
true.
we needed to fill time because there's only so much I can make fun of Ben.
Ben Franklin, you mean?
Oh, yeah.
There's
absolutely.
only so much you can make fun of Ben Franklin. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't make fun of Ben Franklin.
I wouldn't either. I was like, this guy sounds great.
Ben Franklin?
Yeah, he's one of the few people in history that eventually respected women and eventually questioned cultural norms that needed to be immediately fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you get a thumbs up, Ben Franklin.
2 thumbs up.
3.
I'm not doing the other one. All right.
Okay.
Well,
Well, that was fun.
that's it.
I hope someone else learned something besides me.
Should I reveal the thing that was in the journal that got shared during a meeting with 7 other people?
I don't want to know. I think you're allowed to have your privacy because I know for a fact that Ben is a big advocate for naming names.
Oh yeah. I think that everybody should name names in their journals because
Future historians.
then future historians will have records to go back to, just in case, Apple and Google and Facebook don't share our information. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. Of course they're going to. We're all screwed. Jackie is a historian. An historian doesn't make sense. This is the one thing that I will not budge on. Historian doesn't starts with a h. That is a consonant sound, not a vowel sound, which means it's a historian. An historian doesn't make sense. An hour makes sense because hour, though it starts with H, sounds like it starts with O. Jackie is a historian. This is something that I will. We don't know that because Jackie has not finished my family tree.
All right. So just like I told you today, in the background of Food for Thought.
Okay. I will do that. So instead of wrapping it up, I have decided that we are going to switch to another show, and we're just going to do a full-on another show right now. So please pretend it is breakfast time. Oh, hold on. I need to switch the background. All right, ready? Hey, everybody. Welcome to Business Over Breakfast. My name is Ben Barber. That is Jackie Smith. And
Ben, I'm a bounce.
This is a show where we talk about how I'm going to leave Jackie on to say the last words. Jackie, if people want to find you to ask their history questions, where can they find you?
Oh, Ben, I need your cell phone number. Yeah, you could just post it on Facebook or post it in the comments, and we'll get to it next week.
Okay, that sounds great.
And I need to do some Connecticut stuff and balance this out. So send me your Connecticut history questions in the comments of this post.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, wrong one. All right. Well, that sounds perfect. And thank you, everybody, for watching. You can wrap it up, too. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And check out tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. my actual other morning show with my best friend, Dave DeAngelis. The Sky is Falling, where we will talk. And I have a big announcement for tomorrow morning on The Sky is Falling. So please check that out. Can you take off the banner that says wrap it up? All right. Bye, Jackie.
Bye.